Hello, friends. How is everybody doing today? This is Dustin Coyle. We have another episode of the Daily Wager. I know you thought it wasn't coming. NBA dropped their money lines and their spreads for the weekend, and some of their futures odds to win the NBA championship, and I think odds to win each individual conference championship. So that gives us something to talk about on a Friday morning. And so this is the Daily Wager for Friday, April 14th, obviously 2017. Let's start the show. So all 8 of the series in the NBA are going to be played Saturday and Sunday this week, 4 games apiece on each day, spreading from about 1 o'clock Mountain Time to about 8:30 Mountain Time, and then 11 on Sunday to about 7 on Sunday. So a full lineup all day long going on. We're going to start on Saturday, 1 o'clock, the first game of the NBA playoffs. We have the Cleveland Cavaliers, the first seed, number 2 seed, at home, hosting the Pacers. Cavs coming in at a minus 8.5. Had a little bit of recent struggle lately. Minus 425, plus 355 for the Pacers. Paul George, I think he's averaging almost 31 points his last 10 games. Really had a surge to get the Pacers back into the playoffs when they were, maybe like 2 weeks ago, they were on the outside looking in with the Heat. Haven't played so well. I'm one of the believers that the Cavs pretty much, for the most part, and they disappointed me. I've lost money betting on the Cavs this year, but overall, at least, I'm one of the people that believes for the most part they do have just a switch that they can turn on for the most part. Not necessarily turn into a team that has a losing record after the All-Star break to just a switch. All of a sudden, you're a team that can beat the Warriors, but I do believe that they could do that and be a team that can beat the Pacers. They would have probably beaten the Pacers anyway, in a series, even as shitty as they've been playing in March and late January and stuff like that. They had a good February, but really interesting there. I mean, obviously, I think the Cavs are going to win game 1 at home. Paul George would have to have like a 45-point day, and you'd have to see a real disappearance from at least one of the big 3. Kevin Love, I guess it's not impossible. Kyrie could shoot bad, I guess that's not impossible as well. LeBron's pretty much a guarantee. But I'm going to go ahead and take that minus 425, and I think I'm going to parlay it with... I don't think I'm going to. Take the minus 425 for the Cleveland Cavaliers. That should be a pretty good pick there. The minus 8.5, though, I don't really love, honestly. I would say plus 8.5. I expect the Cavs, or the Pacers, to be competitive, man. Paul George has looked like one of the 10 best players in the NBA again. The last 2 weeks of the season. He's looked like he's better than anybody except for LeBron on the other side, recently. And he probably is, and he should be up there. So, I could see a plus 8.5. The Cavs don't need to crush anybody. They just need to win. But I think when it comes down to crunch time, at home, playoffs, LeBron's been to 7 straight finals. I think that his leadership, essentially, will be enough for at least game 1 to get that W there. All right, 3:30, we have the Milwaukee Bucks at the Toronto Raptors, a 6-3 matchup. Toronto at home played very well. I think they're probably the hottest team in the East, I would say right now. Maybe Boston, maybe Milwaukee. I don't know. But they're my pick for the hottest team in the East right now. Both of their scorers are playing really well. They have probably the best defensive team. Is that true? Maybe. They might be the best defensive team in the East. Lowry's a pretty good defensive point guard. Damn good, actually. And then, obviously, P.J. Tucker, their 6-man. Serge Ibaka. They're fucking pretty stacked there. 2 scorers, I always love that. Not a plethora of 3-point shooting, but enough, hopefully, to get it done. The Milwaukee Bucks look damn good. Obviously, Giannis is... my vote for the most improved player of the year. He led his team in all 5 major statistical categories: points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals. He was actually The only person ever to finish in the top 20 in the NBA in all of those. He finished top 20 in the NBA in points, rebounds, steals, assists, and blocks, which is fucking crazy. He's only like 21 or 22, too. He's young as shit. Definitely right upside. He's running the pick and roll really well with Malcolm Brogdon, who's the new starting point guard. Dellavedova coming off the bench. I do like that. I think Dellavedova is a good backup point guard. I like Malcolm Brogdon. He's smart. A more experienced player. The Jabari Parker injury is obviously going to be a problem, but Chris Middleton's also playing really well. Greg Monroe's playing really well. This is going to be a good series. I think that the Bucks are the best team of the last four, so I think they're better than Atlanta, Chicago, and Indiana. I think they're the best of all those teams. And I think that, wow, it's really tough to say that Giannis is a better all-around player. But I think even this year he's probably a better all-around player, a more impactful player than either Butler or George. I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty hard call, but it's and then anybody on the Hawks. Giannis is truly going to be a difficult matchup there at the 3 or the 4 position, depending on where they line him up. I guess it's going to be Serge Ibaka most likely getting the majority of the attention there defensively. -7 for the Raptors at home. And the money line, we're looking at -310. I'll just take that -310 money line. I think they're going to win the first game. I actually like their odds better in the second game. I think that the Bucks could surprise them in the first game, but they've been hot, and I'm sure that they're going to probably put some sort of an effort forth to make anybody other than Giannis beat them. You know what I mean? So that'll probably be like, their primary focus is stopping Antetokounmpo, and obviously Giannis is going to have a hell of a difficult time stopping the DeRozan-Lowry combination. And then they're going to need somebody else to step up too. But, I mean, Ibaka can score 20 a game if he needs. Or they have other good options there a little bit. But go ahead and take that Toronto Raptors -310. These spreads aren't big enough, really, in my opinion, to warrant it to be a parlay. Like, I don't really think there's any terrible great value to parlay your Cavaliers with your Raptors on this one to get a really, really good return on your money. I think the spreads are low enough that you can really just bet them each individually and kind of just go from there. Alrighty, 6 o'clock. We have the Memphis Grizzlies at the San Antonio Spurs. This is one that I think could be an upset. Memphis, I think, either tied or won the season series. I think they tied 2-2 against San Antonio. They, I think, went 2-1 against the Warriors. I'm not entirely sure, but my point being, they have good success against good teams. They're also an experienced, good team. Faltered more at the end of the season, but I know that they're not intimidated by the Spurs, and they match up very well against the Spurs. Obviously, to win the series or to win the game, Conley will probably have to be the best player on their team. So probably have to be the second best player on the floor after Kawhi. And then they're going to have to basically see the majority of everybody step up. Gasol, Zach Randolph, people off the bench. So it's obviously going to be difficult, but out of any, and they're a massive underdog as well. So San Antonio on -9, +9 obviously for the Grizz. And then money lines, we're looking at -500, +405 for the Grizzlies. I think San Antonio is going to win the game. I think that spread's probably a little too high. I think that those teams are closer than the Cavs and the Pacers. And the Cavs-Pacers have a closer spread as well. I think I'm just going to stay away from the game, though, to see how they play each other. Memphis +405 is not bad, but I don't think I'll take San Antonio 5-1 odds, or 1-5 odds, however you want to look at it. That's, Memphis can easily steal a game here. I just don't know, would they be more likely to take game 1 or game 2? So they're probably more likely to win game 1, I think. And then the line, if they play well in game one, if they get crushed, they'll probably get crushed in game two also, and the lines will be massive. But if they play well in game one, they'll still probably lose game two, and the lines will be smaller. So I would say your best value, if you think that the Grizz could possibly pull an upset, is to bet them the plus 405. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'll stay away from it. Just bet on my two favorites there. The Cavs and the Raptors, both favorites. Stay away from this game. Keep an eye on it. The Grizzlies have the possibility of upsetting. I don't really love them even money at 9. It's okay. I think it's, I don't know, pretty likely, almost as likely that they could win as they could lose by 20 or 25. So I don't love the spread for even money, but I mean, if we're talking about a 4-1 odds, to win the game, I don't think that's horrible. All right, and the last game on Saturday. Jesus Christ, this is taking forever. Utah Jazz at the LAC. Jazz, the 5 seed, Clips, the 4 seed. Clips have won 10 of their last 12. Jazz, kind of up and down a little bit. Won a pretty damn good game. Who did they beat the other day without Hayward, without all these guys? I can't remember. I talk too much and I do too much of this shit. But they're also good. Two teams that I really like in the West. Clips 5-point favorite at home. And money line, we're looking at minus 220, plus 190 for the Jazz. I don't take this at all. This game could be a win for either team. The Jazz are fucking excellent. They play well against each other. Both point guards are very good defensively. George Hill and Chris Paul. It'll be interesting to see how that negates them as factors on offense. Chris Paul, obviously, much more necessary to the Clips offense than George Hill is. Gordon Hayward, out on the 3. I guess they'll probably have Mbah Moute on him. It'll be interesting to see that matchup. DeAndre Jordan, Rudy Gobert. That's going to be basically the point guards and the centers are going to be the great matchups there. And then power forward on Blake. What's going to happen there? I really think this is going to go 7 games. This series. I don't really know who's going to win each individual game. I think both teams could lose at home. Both teams can win on the road. I'm going to stay away from this one, but this is going to be probably the best series to watch in the first round of the NBA playoffs. All right, Sunday, 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. We have the Atlanta Hawks, the 5 seed, at the 4 seed Washington Wizards. Atlanta, 7-game losing streak. Then they had to win 3 straight to come back into playing well. Reclaim the number 5 seed over Milwaukee. Washington drops to the 4 seed after a good month by Toronto and a more mediocre month on their part. Still looking pretty good, though. We have, what's the spread here? Wiz minus 5 at home. Very good home team. Atlanta, obviously, plus 5. I'll stop saying both of them. The Wiz minus 210, Atlanta plus 180. I think that this game should be a larger spread than the Clippers Jazz, and the Clippers Jazz are minus 220. So I think there's value here with my Washington Wizards. I think that the real problem, if they're going to lose to the Hawks, it's going to be probably a dominance by the Hawks big men, which is going to put a lot of pressure basically on Morris and Gortat to be able to stop Millsap and Dwight Howard. It's going to be pretty difficult as long as Beal shoots well, which he usually does, and as long as Wall can shoot well, which for the most part he does, not necessarily the last couple weeks. It's going to be pretty goddamn difficult for the Hawks to stop those two defensively. And then if Gortat and Morris can basically battle 50-50 or close to 50-50 with Howard and Millsap, the Wizards are going to win this series somewhat more easily. People are talking that this is a good upset special, and it is. It's not bad. I mean, a 4-5 matchup is always a good one. It's not as good as an upset special as the Jazz over the Clips, though. But the Wizards minus 210, I'll go ahead and take that on a Sunday morning in Washington. Way good home team. One of the 5 best home records, I think, in the league. They won 15 straight at home at one point. Definitely take the Wiz kids. All right, moving on. 8 seed at 1 seed. The battle of the two hottest teams, I think, in the West. The Portland Trailblazers at the Golden State